Hi guys, and welcome back to Coffee Corner. I'm so glad you guys are here. I have had a long weekend, like a good type of long weekend, but I am glad to sort of be back to normalcy. My name is Jarena, and we're so glad to have you join us. If this is your first time to Coffee Corner, we'd love for you to join our community and go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep track of when my videos come out. I have been consistently putting them out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so we'll see how long that lasts. But as I said, we had a long weekend. We did a little bit of traveling to my family's house, and it was a great time. And on our travels, I had a happy moment because I got my first pumpkin spice coffee of the season. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching my channel, the holiday seasonal favorites are coming back out, and this is literally my favorite time of year when it comes to coffee. With that pumpkin spice introduction into the seasonal flavors, it is my favorite time of the coffee year, because I don't know about you, but like coffee, pumpkin spice, caramels, and then as we get closer to Christmas, all the vanilla and the peppermint and the gingerbread, oh my word, it makes me so happy. I call it my favorite, what do I call it? My favorite seasonal favorite coffees, something like that. I don't know. I didn't really actually have a name for it. I just came up for you guys. But it is definitely my favorite time of the year. I had where did I go? Coffee Guy pumpkin spice latte, and it was wonderful. This is a really bad time of year also for me when it comes to coffee, because I also want to go out and buy coffee constantly because it has all my favorite flavors for the next 4 or 5 months. I don't even know when all those Christmas seasonal coffees start fading out, but I just know that for the next 4 or 5 months I am very happy to go get coffee whenever I possibly can, because all my favorite flavors are out for the year, and that just it makes me so happy. So if you have a favorite seasonal coffee, go ahead and put it down below and where you get it, and any modifications to your coffee that you like. Because I know some people are like, yes, I want this coffee, but then I want an extra shot of this, and don't put this in, and they say it's the very best. So if you have one of those favorites, go ahead, put it in the comments. I'd love to try it out and where to get it as well. I don't know actually how many different coffee shops we have around here. I mean, obviously we have a Starbucks. We probably have a Dunkin', although I don't know if I've seen one around. I don't know. I have to actually look into the different coffee shops around. So actually, as I was talking, I realized I'm almost halfway done with my mug already as I was getting ready to prep for this video. Sort of a sad day, but it's not actually coffee, because in keeping with the autumn, fall, that even though it's only the beginning of September, I'm already so obsessed with fall decorating. I don't know about you, but I am sort of obsessive about decorating for fall, especially fall. I don't know what it is. Christmas I like decorating for too, but definitely I love fall decorating. But in keeping with that, I actually have hot cider in my mug tonight because I do not have any seasonal flavors at my house yet to brew on my own time. So I need to take care of that sometime soon, hopefully. But that is, I really, yeah. Seasonal coffee is definitely an obsession of mine. But now that I have gotten to spend almost 4 minutes telling you about coffee and about my obsession with fall and winter coffee flavors, let's go and let's turn over to scripture. So, I was reading through over the weekend, in the Psalms, of course, as you've probably seen from the title of this video, and Psalm 78. A lot of the Psalms up to this point have been pretty, on the shorter side. The longest ones have been 25, 30 verses, sort of. Not very much, not much longer than that. And then I hit Psalm 78, and it's 72 verses, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of verses. And honestly, I was like, what am I gonna learn? I feel like I get lost, halfway through the psalm, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I feel like my brain's turning off halfway through it already. But it's awesome because I had actually a lot of different things pop out and like little connections of, oh, that reminds me of this verse and that reminds me of this verse, and oh, that goes back to that, because Psalm 78 is actually it's an encouragement and a challenge and a command to the older generation to pass on what they've learned and what they've seen and what God's done in their lives onto their children. And what he ends up doing is basically reciting a short history lesson of the Israelites and how God brought them out of Egypt. So it honestly is, for being a longer psalm, like it's very easy to read, and it's really like it flows really, really well and really, really naturally. But the one that I wanted to focus on, the one like theme idea that popped out to me that I want to talk about today is about desires. Now, as you've probably figured out, I like coffee. It's a desire. I, especially around this time of year, have a desire, and sometimes it costs me money that I shouldn't spend. But it is a desire. And honestly, I was going to talk about the whole coffee thing before I knew I was going to talk about this passage. So it's sort of as a good segue, because it shows you something that I'm passionate about and something that I definitely have a desire for. And we're talking about desires. And it's funny because he's actually, Asaph, who's the author of this psalm, is talking about how God provided food and water for the children of Israel in the wilderness. And our main verse is verse 29, but I want to give you a little bit of background to it first. So he talks about how God clave rocks and gave them water, and then they tempted God in their hearts and were complaining, so he gave them manna, and this satisfied the people for a little while, and then they quickly became discontent again and started calling out for flesh, for meat. So God sends them fowl. I wanted to say it was a specific bird. I know it's a specific bird. I think it is. But it doesn't say in the psalm. I'd have to look back in the Exodus account. But he sends them birds to eat. And verse 29 says, so they, that is the children of Israel, they did eat and were well filled, for he, God, gave them their own desire. Now, what... And then, so at first, with this verse, if you just end with this verse, it's like, oh, okay, God gave them what they wanted. Like, God, they were complaining, they were whining, but you know what? God showed them mercy and grace and gave them something that they didn't deserve and fulfilled their desires. Well, if you know anything about the account from Exodus, you know that that's not where the story ended. God didn't just provide them meat. It was actually, their own desire was their downfall. Verse 30 and 31 continue. They say they were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them and slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Israel. So their desire, the thing that they really, 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 really wanted, and God ended up giving them, was actually, for some of them, was their death sentence. And that, specifically verse 29, reminded me of, I think, a passage that we're all pretty familiar with, but I think many people, with just a casual reading, if they just hear the verse, sort of, you misconstrue it and you misunderstand its meaning to mean something else. And I'll explain in just a second after I read it. So, let me see. Okay. Psalm 37, verse 4. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. And I think in a casual reading, we sort of take this to mean exactly what Psalm 78 was talking about. This was something that their heart desired, and God gave it to them. Just like, okay, my heart desires a lot of coffee. Does that mean that if I desire it hard enough, if I want it hard enough, if I pray for it hard enough, is going to be something that God just gives me because it's a desire of my heart? don't think that's what this verse is saying. I think too often we put the emphasis of the verse on thine heart, so what's in my heart, where I don't think that's the emphasis that God was intending us to get out of it. And I think you have to take it in conjunction with the first part of the verse, delight thyself in the Lord. So we're enjoying God, we're following his will, we're doing what he asks and what he commands in his word, and we're serving for him. And then it says, and he shall give thee the desires. Okay, just stop right there. I think we put too much emphasis on that little prepositional phrase of thine heart. Let's just cut that out. Yes, it's important. Yes, it is important. But I think let's just focus on that first part. He shall give thee the desires. This verse isn't saying so much that God is granting every single wish you've ever had, every passion, every, to use the biblical word, every lust that you've ever had. God isn't going to just outpour a bunch of pumpkin spice lattes on my life because I wished it and I prayed it hard enough that I'd have it. No, he's actually giving me the desires, like what I'm wanting. As I'm spending time with the Lord, as I'm delighting in the Lord, he's changing me. He's changing my wants into desires to reflect his wants and desires. It's not that he's just granting willy-nilly whatever I want. It's he's actually molding and forming what I want, what I desire, what are my passions in life. Yes, I'll have trivial passions like coffee and, cookies and chocolate. But the real driving passions of my life, those can be something that I formed, so my comfort, my success, or they can be things that God has formed in my life, that God has molded into my life, a passion for people, a passion for ministry, a passion for service. And this is what God's talking about in verse 4. He's giving us the desires of our heart. He is molding us to become more like his son, and he is, as we spend time with him, as we meditate with him, he is actually giving us the desires, our passions, and he's molding them and forming them. And that is in such great comparison, in contrast to Psalm 78, where the people were not desiring what God wanted. They wanted their comfort, and they wanted something that they thought would satisfy. And we see where it led them. It led to their death. And, maybe you want, well, I don't know what you'd want or what you'd desire. Maybe it's nothing that you think would kill you. I highly doubt the Israelites thought that having flesh, that having these birds, I think they were quail? I don't know. I don't want to say they were quail. Having these birds would be their death. And I'm not saying your passions or your desires are bad, but when it comes down to it, are we spending time with the Lord so we can desire and come after what he wants? Or are we just so focused on, our desires and our, petty little things that we want and we think will make us happy and be our satisfaction? Because we know that, food or coffee or the new car or the newest tech toy isn't what gives us satisfaction in life, but it is following after God and being like his son. So, I don't know. I hope this is a good encouragement for you to just spend time with the Lord and meditate and let him continue working on your desires and your passions, maybe reevaluating your desires and passions, and seeing if it's something that is promoting your self-satisfaction, your self-comfort, or if it's promoting God and promoting what he wants in our lives and godly service and those fruits of the Spirit that he so desperately wants to form and mold into our lives. So I thought it was just a cool connection that sort of sprouted up from a very long historical psalm. So yeah, I hope it was an encouragement to you guys. And we're so glad that you joined us. And if you, again, are new, go ahead, subscribe to us, and you'll hear a lot more about my coffee obsession and a lot more about Christ and what he's doing in my personal life. And I hope that this encourages you to share with other people what he's teaching you throughout your devotions. So we're so glad that you could come. We'll talk to you later. Bye.